We're on the west coast of Canada, the east coast of Vancouver Island and Campbell River for a logger sports competition here at Salmon Fest. There's over 40 competitors vying for over $40,000 in prize money. Sit back and relax. There's going to be non-stop action coming at you on Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
Welcome to Campbell River, British Columbia, home to this weekend's Lumberjack contest on Vancouver Island at the Salmon Festival. The salmon are running their rivers, and the Lumberjacks and Jills are running their way up here for their chance at $44,000 worth of prize money. This weekend, we have the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. We've got the women's underhand, the Springboard, and some single buck. While you're here for this Lumberjack contest, it's easy to get sidetracked with the beauty of Elk Falls. But we want to bring you back in for this awesome event here. We've got some of the best international Lumberjacks and Jills competing in this first event, which is the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. In this event, you've got to combine speed, balance, and technique to achieve a fast time. We're going to round up Rod Cumberland now, 35 years of Lumberjack sports experience, to walk us through this event.
And the first heat of the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. And look at Roger Briscoe off and going really quickly in this event. They're cutting red alder. He's got his hands full, though, with Nick Russell. He's making a charge here from the end. Nick has to do one more cut. Now they got to gather them up, stack them up here. Nick loses a disc out into the crowd. I'm not sure whether... Oh, and look at that. Roger Briscoe coming from behind. He gets it done. Nick not too far behind him, but Roger Briscoe is going to have the time to beat in the first heat of the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. So, Roger, that was a good, quick run. You come from behind and got Nick. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Nick's a strong cutter. We both trained together. We both taught each other tricks. We keep trying new things. So today I saw cut him a little bit, and the stack was a little faster. So a lot of it is the accuracy, how you stack it, and it worked out for me today. And be a longer ride home for Nick, having to listen to that when he gets back.
Good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Solid first heat there for Roger Briscoe. But up next, we have Tyler Brady and Leo Coudreau.
A couple guys a little bit rookie in this event, the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. But look at Leo Coudreau making no mistakes here, getting his notches done, cutting his block off. Youngster from Powell River trying to catch up with him now. He's running a little bit behind. Leo's into stacking right now already. He's putting his block on. Once they stand, all he has to say is he's clear. And look at that, Leo Coudreau, great race here in the Grand Prairie Accuracy Cut. Tyler from Powell River, not too far behind. Okay, so that was a pretty smooth run there for a GP Accuracy Cut. Tell us a little bit about how it went.
I just borrowed so from Mitch, and Mitch gave me some tips and tricks. He said just stay focused on your cut, make your cookies really powerful, that it's easy to stack up, and it went pretty good.
Awesome, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The scores are in, and the leaning tower of Coudreau was not enough to take down Roger Briscoe's time of 21.48 seconds. He will win this first event.
That's okay, I'll just take a step back.
Take a second. Woo! Oh my goodness.
Pacific Coastal began in the red clay in the sandy loam of the west coast of BC when the then second-generation truck logger Daryl Smith started an airline in Bella Coola. And we owe our very existence to the resource sector, the forest industry to begin with, and certainly to Indigenous travelers who are to this day a significant part of our commercial services and offerings to the communities that we serve. We currently fly to more than 16 bases in BC, and now with WestJet Link to 5 bases out of Calgary. And we are now, from those humble beginnings, the 6th largest airline in outbound seats at YVR and the 3rd largest in takeoffs and landings. Supporting people in communities is part of our DNA. We recognize how important it is to give back to the people in the communities we serve. And as a result of that, it's part of our corporate culture, and we're very proud of that today. Pacific Coastal Airlines is a BC success story, and we're proud of the way we have grown in an industry that is significant competition with larger, more aggressive airlines, and somehow we found our niche. And we've done that because of the way we focus on our customers. And again, it goes back to that corporate ethic of people and communities. And our plan is to continue to grow the company as we are today as Pacific Coastal here in BC, but also through our partnership with WestJet. And our intention is to continue to grow and continue to be proudly BC owned and operated.
Of course, that's one of 2 ways to get out here to Vancouver Island for this logger sports competition. The other is by ferry, so all of our athletes have to pack up all their gear and make their way on the pilgrimage out here to the island. Our ladies are ready for the underhand chop. In this event, we got Andrea Hand taking on Brenda Pouchnick.
And we're off and going here in the ladies' underhand chop. Andrea Hand from Kaslo has her hands full with Brenda Pouchnick, used to be Brenda Boyko, from the Boyko family of log burlers out on the West Coast. Brenda's back at it here now, though, doing quite well. They're chopping 11 inches of round pine. Andrea Hand's done a lot of training. This is her favorite event as she gets into the small wood and starts putting her drivers in. She'll put 2 drivers, top and bottom. There's her bottom, there's her top, and now she's over to side number 2. As Brenda Pouchnick put her drivers in, not too far behind here for Brenda. She's taken a few more chips before she makes her turn to the second side, but Andrea Hand has this well in hand right now as she's getting into the smaller wood already on side number 2 on this 11-inch round pine. This is Andrea's favorite event, and she's getting ready to drive things off, and there it is, Andrea Hand. She sets a time to beat here right now in the ladies' underhand chop as Brenda Pouchnick's getting into the smaller wood, a little bit slower pace for Brenda. So Andrea, looked like a good chop. How'd you think it went?
I thought it went pretty well, followed my lines. It was a tough piece of wood, but follow your lines and it'll come apart.
Right on West Coast pine, when it gets a little bit dry, it gets corky and sticky. So how'd your axe chop in it?
Once I opened it, it was good, but I found that opening it was the most difficult part. But once you're in, it went good.
Solid first heat of the women's underhand chop. Up next, we have Anita Jazowski taking on Carly Stinson from the United States.
And they're off. Next heat, ladies underhand chop. We've got the age and experience of Anita Jazowski. She's taking on Carly Stinson from the USA. Carly Stinson just new to the sport, but doing a great job. She has pretty good form as she gets into her small wood. Looks like Stinson has a really great block as she's already into the small wood here. Anita Jazowski has a little bit stickier block. It's dried, so her axe isn't sinking very well as Carly's already around to side number 2. Doing a great job here. Good technique. Good job kicking her knees to get that axe buried deep into the wood. Anita Jazowski, she's getting into the smaller wood here now. She's got her hands full with this really dry pine that she's trying to get this axe to work in. But look at Carly Stinson as she's getting into the smaller wood. She's going to be thinking of driving this off here shortly. Anita Jazowski trying to make up some lost ground here to the young pup. Doing a great job. Both girls here getting into the smaller wood on side number 2. It looks like Anita may reel her in, but no, it's Carly. She takes it off first in this heat. Anita Jazowski finishing things off. Okay, so Carly finished first in that heat. How'd your chop go?
Okay, I used a really heavy axe because it was chopping the wood well. So I was swinging pretty slow, but it was cutting the wood, so I guess that's all right.
Yeah, you did good on that heat. What kind of grind did you have on your axe?
I think it's just a flat grind or a chisel. I don't remember.
Yeah, that chisel was really cutting a lot of wood there for Carly. She's got to be happy with that cut, but we're going to see if these ladies here in this next heat can set the new time to beat.
Final heat, ladies underhand chop, and it's Caitlin Stewart from Northern BC taking on Allison Briscoe. Allison Briscoe, all kinds of power, doing a great job here swinging. Caitlin Stewart, this is her first show this year, but she's doing a great job here getting into the meat of that block, the 11 inches of round white pine. Caitlin doing a great job, good swings, very, very accurate. Look at Allison Briscoe. She's down to the small wood, taking a big swings to get these drivers in before she turns to side number 2. She's got her bottom, and Allie has turned now. Caitlin getting into the small wood. She needs to clear out a few more chips before she puts her drivers in and turns to side number 2. Allison Briscoe taking huge swings in this ladies underhand chop. But Caitlin knows, she's already heard that Allison is around to side number 2, so Caitlin's going to be putting some real power in to try to keep up pace with Allison. Again, it's all about points. Caitlin just needs to get in there in the top 5 to get those valuable points for the overall of the day. Allison Briscoe starting to slow down a little bit now. Caitlin may be able to reel her back in. What a race here in the ladies underhand chop. And it looks like it is. It's going to be Allison. Oh, Caitlin comes from behind. Takes out Allison. She had a couple more swings before her block was severed. Okay, so tell us about that. That was quite a race.
Yeah, well, my motto is always a big front. I'd rather do the work on the front and then turn than try to dog it on the back. So my motto is I often am not the first to turn, but you just try, make a good cut, and then go on the back.
Yeah, Caitlin Stewart's time was not enough to catch Carly Stinson and Andrea Hand blowing the field away at 49.96 seconds. Welcome back to the Salmon Festival here in Campbell River in beautiful British Columbia. Up next, we've got the Springboard chop, where all of our athletes are going to cut a series of board holes with a razor-sharp axe, climb to the top of this 9-foot tree, and then sever the block at the top. All of our athletes are going to be looking to put 4 to 6 board holes in these trees to remain competitive. Let's turn it over to Rod with the play-by-play.
First heat, the men's springboard chop, and we've got 2 experienced choppers here, Dave McLeod and Derek Pouchnick. Derek from the USA, Dave, the local boy here from Campbell River. These are dry pine poles, so the guys have to take a few extra swings to make their first notches, and both guys are up. Derek's board's sagging just a little bit. This white pine, always a little bit less forgiving on notches. Even if you think you're in there, the pine does compress quite a bit, and you can see both boards sagging a little bit here as we get well underway here in the men's springboard chop. Dave McLeod says his second board looks good to him, and he's got it in there right now. Dave makes a second set on this as Derek Pouchnick gets into the small wood, tries to clean that out a little bit more. Looks like Derek had a miss hit, so he's got to go back and clean that out. He's got in. Dave McLeod's up and swinging away, and you can see these white pine uprights actually not being really kind to the guys as their boards keep sinking here just a little bit. Dave McLeod, though, well into his chop on the front side. They're chopping 11-inch round pine on the top of these logs as Derek Pouchnick also getting in, taking the first big chips out of his log. And we've got a great race here between Dave McLeod and Derek Pouchnick. Springboard chop in the men's division. Derek's trying to reach that far wood and clean it out. Dave McLeod's board still sagging a little bit more. He's almost through on the front side, though. He just has to hang on long enough to turn and actually drive this thing off. Derek Pouchnick's block coming apart really well for him as he gets into the small wood here, swinging slow and accurate, and he's almost caught up to Dave McLeod here, so he's doing a great job. He's got a good board and also a good block up on top. Dave McLeod is around, trying to ambidextrously take this off. He has this little bit unorthodox swing on the backside. 2 inches on the far wood. The block is starting to move now as Dave McLeod gets ready to drive things off. Derek's around to side number 2, but it's going to be Dave McLeod, the local boy from Campbell River, taking it off and setting a time to beat in a men's springboard chop. So Dave, tell me about the pine uprights. They seem to, when you put your boards in, they seem to be a little bit less forgiving than other kind of boards, other kind of uprights. What's the story on that?
I don't know what you mean about less forgiving. They're pretty firm, Rod. We chopped alder trees yesterday, and they're a little softer. These ones here, you don't have to worry about them slabbing out, but yeah, they're quite a bit drier.
Dry or not, that was an excellent cut there by Dave McLeod. These athletes are going to have their work cut out for them to stay up with Dave after that first heat.
Nick Hall taking on Carson Bischoff in this heat of the springboard chop. 2 good cutters here. Nick Hall, we know, trained a lot this year, did really well. The Nationals, Carson Bischoff getting into the smaller wood here as he gets ready to set that first springboard, and both guys up together. Good race here now in the springboard chop. Nick's board hanging really strong. Carson's sagging a little bit. That gives him a little bit of trouble when he goes to set that second board. And you can see Nick Hall is off and going now. That strong board on his first one helped him make a good notch for a second. board, and he is up and swinging away at this 11-inch round of pine. Carson Bischoff still getting into the small wood. Carson, of course, he's the son of Carl Bischoff, renowned Canadian springboard chopper, but it's Nick Hall that's keeping the pace here and distancing himself really quickly here from Carson Bischoff. And he is on a mission. As he gets into the small wood, it won't be long here. He'll be swinging to side number 2. And all that training on Grouse Mountain seems to be paying off for Nick. Carson Bischoff also up on board number 2. And now he's going to get into his block as Nick Hall is already around to side number 2. He's making quick work of this. He knows there's other guys here, Mitch and Sterling, who can also reel things in here on the springboard. But it's Nick Hall. Look at that. He breaks a handle as he finishes things off here in the springboard chop. Talk about good timing on that. Nick, awesome climb and awesome chop at the top. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the pole was a bit firm, but I was ready for that. I was anticipating about 6 hits for a pocket, and that's, I don't know how many I put in the bottom, but the top is definitely 6. It was a clean.
What happened at the end?
So perfect timing, I guess. If you're going to break an axe handle, do it on your very last hit. Drove off, wasn't expecting it. The axe handle just exploded, and it took me a second to realize what happened, but the block came apart, and all I had was the bottom half of a handle in my hand. So axe is okay, but yeah, got a time anyway, so that's good.
Yeah, we've seen this happen now a couple times this year where handles are breaking mid-chop. You got to make sure the grain goes straight through the head of the axe and doesn't waver in any way through the handle like we saw there on Nick Hall's axe.
Always exciting to watch these two guys. Sterling Hart taking on Mitch Hewitt. Mitch the Missile, they call him. Springboard chop is his expertise. Look at that. Even in these soft pine uprights, his board is standing really good and strong. This guy knows how to chop wood. Already in board number 2, Sterling Hart's going to have to try to reel him in. Sterling not far behind as he sets board number 2, but Mitch the Missile already into his block on the top. Sterling 3 strokes behind him. So this is going to be a good race right to the end. Mitch loves his soft wood. Doesn't matter whether it's hard or soft, Mitch will always adapt really quickly. Both guys have nice soft blocks, though, and Sterling Hart, always a little bit stronger springboard cutter, but Mitch has already turned to side number 2. He's an awesome ambidextrous swinger. Sterling right behind him, though. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Mitch Hewitt, the Missile, taking it down. Sterling Hart just 3 swings behind. One thing I hardly ever see from you is a board a little bit below the horizontal. You want to just tell me what's going on there?
The only thing I can think of is I'm putting on a bit of weight. I don't know.
A little humor there from elite athlete Mitch Hewitt, setting the time to beat at 47.03 and taking the win in the springboard chop.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Dickies. Quality workwear since 1922.
Up next here in Campbell River, we've got the traditional men's single buck event. All of our athletes are going to be using these old school saws you'd once find in Western Canada, cutting down massive Sitka spruce and Western hemlocks. Here we go.
Men's traditional open single buck. This is a different event on the West Coast. They start without a starting cut, so they have to start right off the top of the log, and they're using the old traditional saws, so the 4-peg and raker saws that were used years ago in BC. And of course, Leo Kudrow is a filer himself. He's actually was taught by J.P. Mercier, and he's doing a great job here already halfway through the wood. As he gets into the small wood, Derek Pouchnick doing a great job on his saw. But look at that. It is Leo Kudrow taking it off in record time here. He'll be happy with that cut. Derek Pouchnick gets into the small wood, still struggling a bit with a single. Okay, so Leo, that was a good cut and pretty special saw to you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky and cuts really well. I spent some time filing it, and thanks JP Mercier to teach me a bit, and yeah, it was a really good saw. Pretty hungry, and I was just using 2/3 of the saw because I'm not very good with them.
Wow, new school filing techniques on old school traditional single buck saws. Very positive results there for Leo in that last event.
It's an interesting heat of the old standard single buck here with Dave McLeod and Nick Russell, both guys UNB graduates from years gone by. Dave McLeod, the old experienced competitor here, compared to Nick Russell, who's only he's been at it now for about 15 years, but Nick Russell doing a great job. He just had a hang Both guys having hangs. These saws are not as thick, not as heavy a gauge as the recent saws that they use, usually in single buck. These are the old saws. They're doing a great job here, and Dave's getting into the small wood. He's going to be driving it off before long, but Nick Russell coming from behind. Look at that, what a close race. Okay, so Nick, I'm glad you're holding that up there. Tell us a little bit about the difference in this saw between this one and the typical single buck that we run.
Typical single buck, it's about 6 feet, 6'1", and this thing's 7 feet. Most of the guys today in their traditionals have cut off ones, and I decided to run a 7-footer. It's a great white pine filed by old-timer Al Boyko, and it cuts nice. Hung out 3 or 4 times in the cut there, which you just got to run this thing smooth. You can't bear any weight on it. You let it cut.
Yeah, angle changes and too much weight negatively affect these really narrow-plated single buck saws. But here we go in our next heat. Sterling Hart, premier single sawyer in the world. Let's see how he handles this traditional saw.
Men's single buck with a starting cut right off the top of the log. We've got 18 inches of white pine here. Sterling Hart gets into the cut here really well. Carson Bischoff also doing a great job. This all comes down to the saw and how many times you hang, because these are thinner gauge steel than what the typical single bucks are. Both guys have a little bit of trouble, but Sterling Hart, he is getting into the small wood now, making quick work of this. I think he's using that same saw that Leo Kudrow did, and look at that. Sterling Hart, the first one down on the ground, he's got a great cut. So Sterling, that wasn't as fast of a time as I saw you do a few weeks ago in Mississauga. What's the difference here?
It comes down to equipment as well, right? Generally in a race, there's 3 things. You've got your equipment, you've got the wood species, and then you've got the operator. So you got to have all 3 things come together.
All 3 things did come together there for Sterling Hart, setting an amazing time of 23.93 seconds, with the guy who lent him the saw right behind him at 25 seconds. And our crown pivotal point of the day, Andrea Hand smoking the field in the ladies' underhand chop, earning her a first place in that event. Although Nick Hall did not win the springboard chop, he is our overall lumberjack of the day for persevering through the event, finishing it with a broken axe handle. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors here at Campbell River. It takes a village to host an amazing event like this. Can't wait to be back again next year. Thanks again for joining us on Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
So Mitch, tell me a little bit about where you're at right now and how things are going with competing.
Yeah, we're probably in the peak of the season. We've had shows for the last month every weekend, so I've been doing a lot of traveling and getting tired, but that's good fun. My boy's competing this year and really keen, and he's sort of making me go to the shows. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't mind a weekend off, but that's good fun. I've been cutting okay. Haven't been training this year, busy building a house and work, and be good fun today.